G'day guys, it's Thursday afternoon, which means it's Crosshairs time, your weekly wrap-up of everything news and video game related from locally and abroad. And we've shipped off that old guy, Randolph Ramsey, in his place. We've got the young and vibrant GameSpot AU crew, James Kozinecki and Laura Parker.
Yeah, no oldies on this show.
Nah.
That's right.
Poor Randy, he's gone straight to Florida in a nursing home.
Don't trust anyone over 25. Now, Cos, we've got a massive episode of the show. What have we got on?
This week on the show we have an Aussie exclusive with South Australian Attorney General Michael Atkinson as he talks to us about the R18 classification debate. I get in an arm lock and Dan previews the UFC fighting 2009 Undisputed. Dan swings through the streets in Bionic Commando. We look at the charts, news and much, much more.
Now, it's been a massive week for news locally and abroad. Laura, what's happening?
Well, kicking off news this week, as always, big news in classification. We were down in Canberra last week for the Standing Committee of Attorneys General meeting. As you know, it's called SCAG, and everyone's had a big laugh about that, where it was decided the public consultation concerning R18 classification for games will actually go ahead. Now, the consultation will take form of a discussion paper, which will now be released by the Commonwealth Minister for Home Affairs, Bob Debus. Debus took the discussion paper from the Attorneys General because they could not reach a unanimous decision on it. We spoke to Debus's department yesterday and they said that while no release date for the paper has been given, the public consultation will close on July 31st this year, meaning that it should be released very soon. Once released, the paper will be live on the Federal Attorney General website where people can view it and then send in their comments via mail, fax or email. Now stay tuned later for our exclusive interview with Michael Atkinson. Next up in news, 30,000 DSi consoles have been sold in the first 11 days of sale in Australia. To put it in perspective, this is actually a great figure when compared to previous Nintendo DS hardware launches in Australia. The original DS Fat sold 20,000 consoles during its first month at retail, and the DS Lite sold only 4,000 units over the course of its first week. Big news for Fallout fans this week with the announcement that a new Fallout game will be out next year. Titled Fallout New Vegas, the game will not be a prequel or a sequel to Fallout 3 and will be developed by Obsidian Entertainment, former members of Black Isle Studios responsible for the original 2 Fallout games. Next up, the International Academy of Digital Arts and Science has nominated us, GameSpot, for the annual Webby Awards, honouring the internet's top destinations. GameSpot was nominated in the games-related category, along with sites like The Escapist, Rockband.com, Major League Gaming and Destructoid. In short, please go vote for us. Instructions on how to do so are on the news story on GameSpot right now. On to the big kerfuffle with Activision and DJ Hero last week. A Los Angeles judge has ruled in favour of Activision in a lawsuit filed by the company Genius Products over the upcoming DJ Hero game. Genius accused Activision of breach of contract and misappropriation of trade secrets, claiming the publisher effectively stole the IP for DJ Hero from its own game called Scratch: The Ultimate DJ. Allegedly, Activision had entered into talks with Genius to buy 7 studios and Scratch, but after seeing a demo of the game, announced its own game, DJ Hero, and broke off all negotiations immediately. The judge has ruled in favour of Activision, citing a lack of evidence. However, it has ordered the publisher to turn over the Scratch code ASAP in preparations for a subsequent hearing next month. And finally, a quick piece of news. It looks like the rumours were true, y'all. LEGO Rock Band has officially been announced. Labelled as family-friendly experience for all the family, including teens and tweens, the game will be out on the 360, PS3, Wii and DS in the summer of 2009. So far, the only songs announced are Blur Song 2, Carl Douglas's Kung Fu Fighting, Europe, The Final Countdown, Good Charlotte, Boys and Girls, and lastly Pink, So What. And on to charts for this week, looking much the same as last week, with Chinatown Wars and Killzone 2 continuing to make the top 10. This week's newcomers are Monsters vs Aliens and The Godfather 2 on 360 and PS3, and that's all for news for this week.
Now, the Australian Classification Board website might still be down for maintenance, but this week the following titles have been rated fit for sale. First up, Halo 3 ODST, the Master Chiefless 4th installment in the first-person shooter Halo Universe series, has been given an M rating. Bungie's upcoming title still hasn't been dated locally, but we're expecting it to crash land in 2009. Now, it may already be out, but PlayStation 3 exclusive top-down shooter Burn Zombie Burn, which sees you trying to survive waves of undead as you battle to stay alive, has this week been classified. It's been rated MA for strong violence, blood, and gore. Sam & Max Save the World, the renamed Sam & Max Season 1, which comprises all 6 episodes of downloadable content, has this week been given a PG rating for mild violence. It looks like the classification board has let the cat out of the bag this week, giving unannounced game Brain Exercise with Dr. Kawashima a G rating. No information on launch date is available just yet, but it's slated for a multi-platform release, suggesting it's coming to both Nintendo's Wii and DS consoles. And lastly this week, the follow-up to hugely successful bundled game Wii Sports is about to get a little brother or sister. Dubbed Wii Sports Resort, this minigame compilation will have you flailing in front of your television set and takes advantage of the new Wii Motion Plus accessory. It's been rated G and is due out on the Wii in North America in July this year. So we've run through the local news, we've checked out the games that have been classified. Now it's time to move on to the juicy stuff, playing some games we actually enjoy. Now this week I had a chance to check out Bionic Commando for the Xbox 360, which is essentially the remake of the NES classic. We play as a dude named Rad, which I think is probably the best name in a video game. And I checked out the multiplayer version of this.
Cool, so what's the game about? What do you do?
Essentially, it's a rework of the original. It's very much a third-person action title, and the multiplayer preview that I checked out had you swinging through the city using weapons. It was a big multiplayer session, 4-on-4, because that's unfortunately all we could get supported. And your job is to do either team or free-for-all deathmatch, and you need to capture flags. There's also CTF mode. And the majority of the part is swinging around. And it's
on
a case
what?
of,
On what do you
well, you've got your bionic arm,
yeah.
which is basically a grappling hook on the end of your hot dog thing.
Awesome.
And you need to collect weapons, and if it's CTF, you'll need to go and capture the flag and return it to your base.
Can you explain to us a little bit more about how the arm swinging mechanic works, and how does it compare to like previous games like Spider-Man?
It's actually a lot like Spider-Man, except that Spider-Man Web of Shadows in particular was really easy to get a hang of. All you need to do was kind of swing, hit the button at the right time, and you'd continue your momentum.
Yeah.
But Bionic Commando is slightly tougher because you actually have 2 different targeting mechanisms at any time. You've got your weapon one, which you can fire as you're swinging through the air, and you've got your latching one. So it's a small blue one that appears on screen that you'll need to constantly scroll around, I think using the right analog stick to try and find an object within range that you can grab onto to keep going.
Okay, so you played a bit of the multiplayer. Tell us how that was.
Well, as I mentioned, there was the capture the flag, which is essentially 4-on-4, you go and grab it. You need to protect your teammates as they grab it as well. There's a whole bunch of scattered weapons in each level. And the ones we saw weren't massive.
How big were the maps?
It's hard to say because I think they were designed for a larger number of players. Okay. One was set on a ship, another one was set in almost a jungle setting, but there were no monkeys, unfortunately.
Oh, no, you love
which I'd really hope. Swinging around, with monkeys would have been the greatest thing. It would have been a little bit like Crystal Skull.
A racing mode though, where you chase the monkeys.
I haven't seen a chasing monkey racing mode yet, but it's still not just out. And the other modes were, in the jungle one in particular, it was very height-based, so you actually needed to travel up. Objects were hidden on higher towers, and for the most part, you'll just hit the A button once you've targeted, and then double tap it again if you're on the underneath of a rock cliff face, for example, and you can spring yourself up onto the top of it.
Okay, so how do the graphics look? I mean, obviously, this is going to be a big jump from the NES version to this version.
Look, they're about on par, I think, for the most part. It is actually a complete reinvention. It's looking quite good. We saw a work-in-progress build, so it's not quite finished, but it was looking quite polished. It's a Capcom title, and they're obviously known for a high level of polish on their games. Okay,
great. So when's this one out, Dan?
Bionic Commando is going to be out on the NES, the Xbox 360, and the PlayStation 3 on May 21st this year. Now, it's fair to say that GameSpot AU, we're a generous crew. We're loving and considerate, but we also like to kick the crap out of each other.
Oh yeah, all the time.
It was perfect that we got our hands on some time with UFC Undisputed 2009, which is a little bit fight night, a little bit kick the crap out of everything.
So you guys went along to this together. So what happened? What did you get hands on time with, guys?
A lot of fighting, there was a lot of punching involved.
There was a lot of punching.
Did you punch each other?
No, not directly.
Yeah.
Essentially, UFC is a mixed martial arts game based on the sport, which was originally completely illegitimate. And they said, hey, this is really just blood sport. the sport. We'll turn this around. We'll make it into a very regulated sport. And they've come out with this game. It's the second UFC game they've made, and it's got a whole bunch of characters, a whole bunch of cool moves, and you can really customize the way you play.
Great. So take us through the controls. How do they work?
Essentially, you've got the left stick, which is your movement, L2 and L1. L1 is your modifier, so if you want to do heavy strikes, you hold that one down. You've also got the face buttons, which perform left and right sides of the body. So for example, the X and A buttons control your left side, and the Y and B buttons control punch and kick for that. You've also got R1 and R2, which are block high and low, as well as being able to do low kicks and high punches as well.
Yeah, what about, I didn't get much hands-on time with the actual one, the ground fighting bit of it. You have to do something to the analog stick, right, to get off the ground pretty quickly?
Yeah, what happens is that there's almost two very different types of play, and that's where it's a little bit fight night, a little bit kind of wrestling in its purest form, because you've got depending on how you stack your fighter in attributes and ability as well, you'll do an upright game where you just beat the crap out of guys until you knock them out.
Yes.
Or if you want to, you can spec more into, there are 3 types of upright and 3 types of low ground attack, depending on how you want to go with your player. And on top of that, once you're on the ground, it's a completely different game. It turns into clinching and grappling, and then turning into submission moves where you need to like choke a guy out or break his arm.
It gets pretty brutal. I mean, there's arm bars, and you can be on the ground for quite a bit and just throwing hammers to the head until he gets KO'd.
Is there blood spurting?
There is a lot of blood spurt. You can hold a guy down and just kind of come over and really lay into him. So it's not probably one for grandma. You don't invite her around and say, hey, you want to play some UFC
I got
2009?
this game, Grandma, check it out.
It makes like Street Fighter look kind of tame.
It makes Street Fighter look very tame.
Alright, well, now did you guys get any hands-on with the career mode?
I've played a little bit of career mode this week. Essentially, it's not too different to a lot of the other sports titles, except that there's a real focus on the kind of the social side of UFC as well. You're an up-and-comer, you're a nobody, you can create your character. There is. Well, you get contacted by the president of the UFC. He actually, from the very first email you get, which is very modern for a gym, it's instilled in you the value of treating the sport as, you know, very much a respect-based thing about having role models, and that there are kids who will look up to you, and not so much, hey, this is all, there is a sponsorship element to it.
So it's not just mindless violence?
No, it's not just get into a ring and beat each other up and then go to another one. You'll need to do training between rounds.
Has it got montages in it? I mean,
I haven't seen a montage yet, but if you've got 9 weeks to a fight, for example, and you get to choose between 2 knowns and 1 unknown fighter for your next round, and you can choose to do your weights training, stamina, or cardio as well. And each one will improve your game by a different number of points. But within each ability as well, there's also 3 different intensity levels. So you have a stamina percentage bar. And doing a really high intensity cardio workout, for example, will write you off for that week. So you'll need to do a rest week, or you can do a couple of weeks of medium or low intensity.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the fighters before. Do you know how many there actually be in the game?
I don't think we have a hard confirmation yet. I know at the moment it's over 80, and it's based on the UFC league with the latest stats.
Great. So when's the game out?
This one is out on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, again on May 21st this year. And check it out, because Kozak can get the crap beating out of him.
Hi, I'm James Kozanecki. We're at the UFC event and I'm about to get my ass kicked.
Okay guys, it's time for our Australian exclusive where I caught up with South Australian Attorney General Michael Atkinson at last week's SCAG meeting in Canberra, and here's what he had to say about R18.
Hi, I'm Laura Parker from GameSpot Australia, and I'm sitting down with South Australian Attorney General Michael Atkinson. Okay, so your position on R18 is very clear. You do not want it introduced. What, if anything, will change your mind? I mean, better parental lock technology, or tougher point of sale restriction, better education programs, changes to game packaging to clearly identify R18 games?
Yes, I'm open to the discussion. I am. My position is, as you know, that I believe because of the high impact of interactivity, Professor Craig Anderson's research, the increased aggression generated in some people, adults as well as children, by playing the ultra-violent games, my position is that I'm opposed to an R18 plus classification. but let's see how the debate progresses. Let's see what concessions gamers and the industry are prepared to make. And that would involve the classification board applying the guidelines genuinely and correctly.
Where do you think the bulk of responsibility lies when it comes to protecting children from harmful material? Is it with the government or is it with their parents?
Well, it's with both, but the government has to play its part. And I know as a parent who has 4 children, 3 of whom play games, that it is very difficult for a parent, particularly one who works, to be supervising what the children are accessing on the internet and what kind of games they're playing. I look over my children's shoulder, but I'm a busy person. I can't be there all the time.
Okay, you recently wrote 3 letters to Kotaku Australia
Yes.
and participated in a debate with the gamers online. How did those debates shape your further opinion on R18, and did it actually do anything to change your mind?
No, I don't think it did change my mind, because a lot of the response on Kotaku was abusive and threatening and expletive deleted.
Have you actually found that to be the case in most of your dealings with Aussie gamers?
Yes, I have. And that's a pity. But the gamers themselves tell me, well, get over it, old man Atkinson. We're allowed to abuse you, use filthy language, insult you personally, and threaten you because this is the net and we can do it anonymously. That's the new world we live in. Get used to it, old man Atkinson. Well, I tried to engage in a discussion with them. I think I was very open with them. I wrote reams and reams of material saying what my position was, why I objected to some of the posts. And at the end of it, I concluded that if gamers are going to conduct themselves like this, then they're not going to cut any ice, not just with me, but with attorneys general and politicians as a whole, and they're not going to cut ice with the public. And this is not going to be decided by a referendum of gamers. Gamers are not society. It is going to be decided by the whole of society, and they would have to address their remarks in a far more civil and reasonable fashion in order to win support in the broader marketplace of ideas. And whether gamers can do that, I'm not sure whether they can change, or whether there can be some leadership within the gamer community that says, look, this kind of behaviour, filthy language, personal abuse, threats, is unacceptable, and will you please shut up?
Okay, so you're willing to change, but what's your advice to gamers? How can they participate in this discussion?
Well, I think at one point I said in an exasperated fashion in response to one post, you really ought to get out more. and the idea, they say to me, but everyone I have dinner with, everyone I mix with says we must have an R18 plus classification. Well, get out and smell the flowers, and get out and talk to the 90% of Australians who don't play games.
Do you think you'll see the introduction of the R18 classification for video games into the country during your term as South Australian Attorney General?
Who knows? Who knows? The gamers say I should die or depart, and God willing, that may happen.
As Laura mentioned, that was a chat with Michael Atkinson, the South Australian Attorney General. And if you want the full version, head over to the website where we're going to have it up from Friday onwards. And he has some really interesting things to say about Australian video game classification.
Yeah, you guys should watch it. It is very interesting and informative, I thought.
We'll move on to the week's releases now and give away some cool stuff. Cos, what's coming out this week?
Well, on top of the usual giveaway of X-Men Origins Wolverine on your platform of choice thanks to the Ozspot, we're giving away a limited edition claw set from the... I don't know if they're from the film, but either way, they're pretty cool, so you can pretend to, hack up your friends with them.
Yeah, they're awesome. I've been wearing around the office.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not do that.
No, it's alright in the office. It's just when you take them out in public. That's when you...
Okay, so don't take them out of the office.
That's when the police have an interest in you. On top of that, for the runners-up, we've got 5 storyboards that we're giving away and 5 double passes. And then more runners-up, we've just got 20 double passes to give away as well. And the last competition is we're giving away 5 copies of The Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena on your platform of choice.
Awesome. So we've got some really cool prizes coming out. How do people win those if they want them, Cos?
All you got to do is go to www.gamespot.com.au/comps and you can enter there.
Now, this week's a bit thin on the ground. We've got some great prizes and that offsets it, but it's kind of thin on the ground for releases this week.
Yeah.
3 big ones.
Yeah.
Well,
I wouldn't even call big ones.
3 titles. What's coming out?
Alright, we got Little King's Story on the Wii, Puzzle Quest Galactrix on the PC and DS, and Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2 on 360, PS3 and PS2.
It's a stellar list.
Yeah, well, considering that the last Dynasty Warriors Gundam was a cracker of a game, I'm excited.
I like Galactrix and Little King's Story. I think they're very great games. So it's
So you've got 2 things to pick up this week.
Yes, exactly. So it's not that bad of a week.
Guys, I think that about brings it to a close, unfortunately. But we'll see you again next Thursday afternoon. Same Crosshairs time, same Crosshairs channel. And hopefully we'll have some more information on the public consultation by then. Bye now.
I'm James Kozadek. I'm at the UFC 2009 Undisputed event, and I'm about to get my ass handed to me. Oh god.